People call me Christian Amapo because I'm fearless, very tough. I used to do very strong programs, challenge politicians, challenge CSOs, challenge people, very controversial programs. So since I've established, because they've known me for that, I have been struggling to let people understand the model of my station. They are not used to listening to in the morning, those morning shows where you have your it's very not political but very, you get to look at topic that are very light, very but very firm. We are not used to that kind of programs in the morning. In the morning here, when you tune into all the stations, it's very tough, very hard questions, politicians fighting here and there. So we are trying to change the way you should listen to radio station in the morning. So it's been challenged because Sierra Leone is not used to those kinds of programs.
Imagine a world where we have gender equality and equity in and through media. That is our mission at African Women in Media. I am Dr. Yemisi Akimbobola, and this is Her Media Diary, a podcast that captures the lived experiences of African women working in media industries. In this episode, I am joined by Asmaa James, a renowned journalist, activist, and philanthropist from Sierra Leone, with over 20 years of experience in broadcast journalism, management, and advocacy for women's rights. Asmaa shares her journey from being a volunteer in a local radio station to rising through the ranks to become a presenter, producer, editor, station manager, and ultimately establishing her own media organization, which is dedicated to mostly covering issues affecting women and girls. Now, throughout this series, we will be in conversation with African women who have made a name for themselves by holding vital leadership positions in various newsrooms. By inviting these voices into conversation, we hope to provide solutions to breaking down barriers faced by African women in media industries. Asmaa, it's such a pleasure to have you on the podcast, and I'm sure you've listened to previous episodes and know that I always like to start from way back, from the
Yes.
childhood, from growing up. So tell us what, growing up was like for Asmaa.
So thank you very much. I grew up in Freetown. Actually started schooling in the provinces and then but came to Freetown when my mom died. And it was very interesting growing up because I am from a very fanatic Muslim background. So when my mom died,
Okay.
my auntie, took me and brought me to Freetown, and I was with her until I started secondary school and then went back to my sister where I grew up in the east end of Freetown, started my primary school and then my secondary school. Immediately after school, I went into journalism and as a volunteer. And I've been there now growing myself and trying to put myself together professionally. So I must say, it's a bittersweet growing up. Did not actually enjoy growing up, but then because when you are in a foster home where someone else that is not your biological people, parents, but it's all the same. I grew up and they tried to give me the best, and here I am today. I own a whole media house.
I want to go back a bit. You mentioned there that your mom died when you were quite young. Tell us more about that and how that. Well, what was your mom like first of all, and how did that shape you?
Okay, I can't quite remember because I was 6 when my mom died,
Okay.
and so I knew I was with my sisters, my mom, my dad, and then she died by road accident from Freetown to where we were in one of the provinces in the southern part of Sierra Leone. So, but the few moments I had with her, she's actually from Egypt, and she was very keen on us speaking Arabic. So that is all I could remember. And then the food, the Egyptian food she used to make. So, when we came back, when my daddy wanted us to speak his own mother tongue or mother language, but then my mom was also there wanting us to have that opportunity. So, and then she made sure she gave us the best of Egyptian food. I could remember there's a particular food they wrap the rice into something like cabbage or these garden
Okay,
eggs.
yes, yes,
And
yes,
these
yes.
garden
I know that.
eggs, yes. So that's the only thing I could remember about her, because that's what she always prepare for us, and lots of garlic. And so with the small, small Arabic, when you speak bad Arabic, she will tell you, she will always correct you. So, but ever since she died, we ate everything with a main food called cassava leaves.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
And so your mom was Egyptian, your dad is from Sierra Leone. Yeah.
yes.
Has that shaped your identity in any way?
Not really. So I am more connected to Sierra Leone. I mean, but as you know, people always want to know. My name is actually Asma, and you cannot find lots of people. It's an Arabic name, and then the James is actually my husband's name now. But then, so when I call my name, it's very difficult to identify. Back here in Sierra Leone, it's very easy to identify people by their names, by their by the way they look, they'll tell you where you're from by your name. But then when I call my name, it's very difficult to. So they've identified me with different tribes until I started. I mean, when I speak one of the major tribes language in Sierra Leone, the Mende, people say, you speak Mende, because when you see me, I'm just mixed. You can't really identify me where I'm from. But then, and then as you know, we're here. My dad, so we are more on our father's side until
Yeah.
about 3, 4 years ago when I first visited Egypt, and then I've been there quite a few times to meet my mother's sisters and brothers that are still alive in Egypt.
It's interesting what you say there about kind of name and identity and then physical appearances.
Yeah.
Because I have a friend who I mean, in Nigeria, I don't know how much you know about the kind of name politics of Nigeria.
Mm.
So each tribe obviously has their different names and stuff. And whilst he's Yoruba, his kids mostly have like Igbo names, right? And it's not because his wife is Igbo, but it's because he just loves those
The
names.
Igbo
And
names.
then they have a Yoruba surname. So that's always very interesting. And then with me, people always say, "Oh, you don't look Yoruba, you look Igbo, or you look South African, or like Ethiopian." Do you
Yes.
understand?
You look South African.
South so it's
Yes.
if it's in Nigeria, they'll say, "Oh, you look Igbo." If it's somewhere else, like, "Oh, you look South African," or "You look Ethiopian," and yeah, and all that. So you said you moved then with your auntie.
Yes, so when my mom died,
Yeah.
so someone took me. My mother's friend actually took me and brought me to Freetown, the capital, and I've been here ever since. I go to the village. I'm very traditional. I believe in all the rights of being a traditional woman. So, but yes, ever since I mean, I came back and grew up in Freetown.
Tell me more about that. You said you're very traditional and believe in all the traditional rights of being a woman. What does that mean?
Um, what do I say? So, we have all these thing going on. I just believe that if you're from somewhere, so in a village or in a particular area, and you have your society to go through, your whatever you have to go through. If you have to be this to be a woman, if you are so, even though so people sometimes say, even though you advocate, you fight for women, you're women's rights, you're this, you're that, but you're very, very traditional. I said, I hold certain traditions very sacred, but I don't put it on people's face. I don't like you have to believe in what I believe in, but then I'm very mixed. I just believe in what my instinct says I should believe in. And then, so that's why I said I'm very traditional. So I go to my people a lot. I visit them, and whatever is in the village or in anything to do, if I'm there, I participate. So that's why I said I'm very traditional.
Yeah, yeah, and I fully appreciate that because I think we often assume that if we are gender advocates, then that means therefore we do not value tradition or we do not value certain aspects of our culture, and actually they can coexist, right? Yeah.
Yes.
How do you navigate that? Like trying to maintain certain traditions. That's in one respect, some people could take a more detailed eye on and see some inequalities in, but in another respect is something that you really value. So how do you as a gender advocate navigate that personally? And there's no wrong or right answer here because like you said, it's all about individual choice. And I think that's the key thing there is that choice.
Yes. So I have tried to keep my opinion about things that many advocates or people see as something so let's say take FGM for example. I have never ever made my position clear on FGM. I mean, I have had organizations support me, support whatever I do that believes that FGM should be banned. And I always say I have my own beliefs and I have my own, like you said, what you believe in. So I don't usually, I mean, I think publicly, this is my first time of even talking about giving an example of FGM. So you have FGM, we have the LGBTQ that is on now. So I believe in whatever you want to do, you can do. I have a friend whose organization is supporting me. Say, okay, you think you can advocate, or you not advocate, but you cannot say anything about FGM. I said I will say when the time comes, but I believe in the tradition of FGM, and I believe the advocates or the messengers are too harsh in advocating in something that I believe in that we should have a negotiation on. And so I have tried not to make, because the campaigners are really non-compromising, and so I try to keep
Okay.
myself away from the whole issue of what to say, whether to ban, whether to eliminate, whether. So in my own little way, with the education I have, I educate my people that, and I go with what the government says, that you have to under 18 is a crime, and that I believe in under 18. But if I am old enough to do what I want to do with myself, just as the way people say, if it's my equality, it's my right to be what I want to be. So how do I balance it? I've tried to keep away from the whole discussion because of the fierceness of the campaigners. Of not that I don't want to, but if I believe, you say what you want to say, but if I believe in what I believe in, I mean, this is what I believe in. And now my position on it, I believe in FGM, but in a very respectful way. And I campaign, or I talk the traditional people on how to go about it. So it's not because I campaign for the rights of women and girls, or I want the girls to get the best, means I don't have certain cultural values that I hold very dear or sacred to my heart, and FGM is one. So I tell people the conversation has to be respectful. I don't care what they say in the international scene. I don't care what they say, who says it, but this is what I believe in. And I believe we have to be respectful in talking about that and in negotiating. So campaigners we need to, like I said, respectful. Respect is yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but obviously the reason why campaigners campaign against FGM is that it's seen as a form of unnecessary violence on the bodies of women and girls, right? But your argument is that actually, yes, at a certain age, it can be considered a crime. But once you're an adult and you choose to do it, you should be allowed to choose to do it.
Yeah.
So let me challenge you a little bit, right? And say, what if, because part of our choice making is our choice in terms of what we want, but then also it's also about things we've been brought up to believe are true,
Hmm.
right, and appropriate. Okay, and I think again it's all down to choice. So there's an element in which choice is choice, and there's an
Hmm.
element in which choice is kind of conditioned choice. So
Hmm.
how, when in your kind of line of argument of respectful conversations and all that, how would you respond to campaigners that kind of draw out that argument?
So, like I said, and I maintain, I still believe in what I said. Below 18 is totally, you cannot dare to do whatever with the whole tradition, and you don't have to. But then for me, we have total ban, total elimination. So you have to look at different aspects to the whole campaign. So we have traditions, and people believe in those traditions. Before, when I was 10, 15, you cannot even mention the word FGM in our society, Bondo, because it was seen to be very sacred. But now you go on the internet, you see everything is on the internet. People talk about what they believe, or what they think they know, and what they think they don't know. For me, the conversation should start at after 18. I mean, it's something that will eventually die down with time, because if 10, 15 years ago, we can't even say the word Bondo, but now we say it, and means in the next 10 to 15 years is something that by nature, by the way things are, by how things are going, it will die down. But for now, I mean, we start the conversation with below 18 or whatever age you consider adulthood. I mean, if I am old enough to say I want to add boobs to my boobs, I know it has its medical, whatever the medical people believe in. I mean, so as old as I am now, I want to say my nose, I don't like my nose. I want to make my nose the way I want to make. Who are you to tell me no? I mean, if I want to reduce my boobs to say this is too much, who are you to tell me no? So at 40, I want to do the same thing to say I don't need my cleats, I want to remove you. Who are you to say no, it's total elimination, total ban because it had it. I mean, even doctors doing operation to have babies out, do something and the mother would die, the baby would die. So all this theory about FGM, all these theories about what people believe in is just completely different from my own side. As for me, the negotiation should start. Don't dare do anything to someone below 18. Let her,
Mm.
or be enough to say I should be able to choose what I want to choose for myself. So that has been my. So I have not started the campaign. I have not. I don't comment on that publicly yet. But for the sake of this conversation, this is what I believe in, and I believe it's too aggressive the way the campaigners are, and you cannot. I mean, even if what you say, what you do, the practice is still on. So I've been able to. I went to my husband's village. There was a time I went and I told them, if you go through the society, so the period of the society was about to, the same. So I said to them, if anybody below 18 is in that bush or whatever they call it, I'll call the police. But
Mm.
if people that genuinely want to do it are old enough to do it, then I'll support you. And I went there and I saw that there, at that particular time, there was no underage in that ceremony.
So, guys, permit me to take this time out to introduce you to our platform called AWiM Learning. AWiM Learning is an amazing flagship learning site created by us at African Women in Media to empower journalists, media producers, and anybody interested in media and making high quality and accessible content. On AWiM Learning, we cover everything from media ethics and investigative journalism to digital storytelling and gender sensitive reporting. These courses are designed by experts in the field and tailored especially for the African context. It's super easy to navigate. Just head over to www.awimlearning, so that's AWIMLEARNING.com, www.awimlearning.com, to enroll and join over 2,000 media professionals who have leveled up their careers with AWiM Learning. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, give AWiM Learning a try. There's something for everyone. Your core argument is that actually there should be an option of choice at an age where you're
Old
considered legally
enough.
old enough to give consent to a practice, right? And
Yes.
obviously, there'll be lots of people who have different points to that. But this is, I mean, this podcast really is about your story, and I'll be interested to know more about how, because your advocacy for women's rights and social justice is very well known globally,
Mm,
right?
yes.
So, based on your experiences and the challenges that you experience that you see women in Sierra Leone having, how does that fuel your efforts? And then, particularly when you're trying to balance a global narrative and kind of a collective perspective on any issue, whether it's FGM or whatever, how do you balance your own opinions within that context of it, especially as somebody in this space yourself advocating for women's rights?
So I have done that with the best of my. That is why I said I've never made my voice. I have never made any position, even when the body is responsible for that invites me to on different things. I don't, and I have never made my position because um, the things I advocate about more, is rape and you have rights that you leadership, women's leadership, and girls giving them access to go to school even if they are pregnant. So the issues about rape is issues about. So I did a campaign on Black Tuesday, which was very successful, and it's led to policy changes in Sierra Leone. And we have not really had a very, very strong issue. I mean, campaigners are there to say this is wrong, but we have not, that will jeopardize what I believe in and the global narrative of the FGM. So I go about, I do campaigns that I believe in, like if sexual penetration of young girls is what I hold very dear, that I campaign strongly against, and I make sure I give in my all. So the issues though around this one that was just, I don't know why it took center stage in this conversation. I'm not sure how.
You brought it up. I didn't know about your opinion. You
Yeah,
brought it up.
I
Let
know,
me
I
just,
know.
dug deeper.
So
So
you pursued the I'm a traditional woman. That is why I came up. But yes, it has never conflicted in any way. I campaign my campaign and leave those issues aside for now. Yeah.
do you feel silenced?
No, I don't. Not public, but then with sponsors, with people that organizations, we argue. They know my position, and so yeah, I don't feel silent because if I want to talk, if when I'm ready or I brought it up now. If I want to put my position on this, I will. So I don't feel silent. I don't feel scared. I don't feel silent because I believe at 18, above 18, I mean, I should be able to do. I have had friends who've done that after secondary school, who've done that, no, no, I think I need to do this. And they've done it, and very successful one, and nothing happens. So I feel very, very not silent at all.
And you got, I mean, beyond advocacy and women's rights, you were a station manager. Are you still a station manager at Radio Democracy?
No, I am not. So, like I said, I started at Radio Democracy as a volunteer. I had just from secondary school, I was waiting for my results and had announcements, and then I wrote an application and I went to 96.2 then, and then I was standing, lots of people were standing and we were talking and we laughed. So, the station was owned by people that were blind. So, they came and said, who just spoke? And then everybody was silent. I spoke, and then he said, "You have a voice. Let's try it." So I started as volunteer, and then the opportunity came for Radio Democracy, and then I went to the Radio Democracy. I was there, went through the ranks from volunteer to freelance to reporter to presenter to producer, editor of the day, and later station manager. I was there for over 2 decades, and I was station manager for 12 to 15 years. And 2 years ago, I left and established my own entity, which is actually the Asmaa James Network, that has three components: the Asmaa James Foundation, which mentor girls; the Girls Plus, which advocates for sexual reproductive rights of women and girls; and then the radio, which is called Rise Radio now, which is I'm the founder, but then we dedicate 60% of the airtime to women and girls issues, young people, innovation. So this is what I have been doing in the last 2 years.
Okay, so your finding yourself in media was almost accidental, would you say?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yes.
what was your journey like then when you, I mean, you said you were there from that accidental discovery 20 years later, right? You rose up the ranks. Reflect on those early years and kind of that experience.
So I must say I had the best time in broadcasting, and that is why I stayed for so long. So Radio Democracy is one of, and it remains the station that you go to when you want to get talk about democracy, good governance, and human rights. So I maintain that mantra of the station. And so we had a woman as station manager. We all admired because she came in at a time when Sierra Leone was struggling with democracy and the station was established. No one knew where the station was. It was actually at the ECOMOC base when we had war, when the soldiers overthrew the democratically elected government. So when they came back, when we had democracy now, government came back, they handed the station over to civil society. So it was civil society owned radio station.
At what point were you with the radio station? Was it during the conflict or
No,
post
no. So
conflict?
just when the post conflict, when they came back from where they were hiding, and then I joined them, and I had the best time, like I said, because there were a few radio stations, and the station had its credibility that you have to listen. I mean, Radio Democracy, you just have to, even as we speak in the morning, you just have to listen to Radio Democracy with the very beautiful programs.
Yeah, but what was it thinking about their kind of how they started out, and then during the time when you're working there, well, how did that history of the conflict drive behind the station shape the ethos, and how did you influence, the environment there as well?
So yeah, so like I'm saying, so because everybody had to listen to Radio Democracy, and then the station manager was a woman, so she gave us all the support, all the opportunities. Many women were working there, and then so we maintained what the station was established for. And so in Sierra Leone, this space is male dominated, and most of the media houses are owned by men and privately too. So
Hmm.
Radio Democracy is unique because it's owned by civil society. Different civil society organizations are members of Radio Democracy. So
Right. Okay.
yeah, so we maintain what it was established for. So I enjoyed every bit of it until I retired um, 2 years ago, actually, when I left the station because I feel like I wanted to do mine and want to just grow. You cannot be in the space for over 20 years and you're still there, still doing the same thing, even though I'm still doing the same thing but different things I established, and now I've given this my entity to young people managing it whilst I look or do other things just to complement the station. But it's been a wonderful journey. When I was at Radio Democracy, many people face different things in their work of place because they are women. I've always had a seat at the table, and I've enjoyed, and I maintained my integrity as station manager until I left 2 years ago.
Mm. Okay, so you left to set up your own kind of organization, the media arm. How easy has that been? Like, what's been the journey in trying to establish your thing?
It's been very not easy because even to do program, they've known me to the people. I mean, people call me Christian Amapo because I'm fearless, very tough. I used to do very strong programs, challenge politicians, challenge CSOs, challenge people, very controversial programs. So since I've established, because they've known me for that, I have been struggling to let people understand the model of my station, of this my new entity. We are not used to listening to in the morning. Like you have the Nigerians, those morning shows where you have your it's very not political, but very, you get to get look at topic that are very light, very but very firm.
Yeah,
We are not used
yeah.
to that kind of programs in the morning. In the morning here, when
Okay.
you tune into all the stations, it's very tough, very hard questions, politicians fighting here and there. So we are trying to let people to change the way you should listen to radio station in the morning. So it's been challenged because we are not used. Sierra Leone is not used to those kinds of programs in the morning. And when I attempted to do like a lighthearted program, people will say, no, this is not for you. You have to come back. You have to challenge. You have to go. But on the whole, it's been wonderful because the set of people I established the radio for are really enjoying when I'm in their production meeting. Is completely different with all these Gen Z and nowadays production on all issues. Not like when I used to like go tough, go hard on issues. But then we're trying to let people understand that you don't need to listen to politicians arguing same thing. I've been saying that, doing that for the last 20 years. Nothing has changed. It's the same thing. They will come when they are in power. They will come. They will say this, and then we are in opposition. The same thing going on. So listen to us in the morning and just get a very light mind as you go along with your day.
So, in terms of your own advocacy now, so the your foundation and your work in empowering women and girls, how did you arrive at that? Because obviously you talked about your journey, accidental discovery into radio, right? But
Hmm.
how did you get to the point of this advocacy for women and girls? What led to that?
Okay, so of course I had a trusted voice, and So I took advantage of that. And so lots of young people look up to you. They will send you messages. They will want to mentor me. So that's how I started the foundation. So I start time to time. I meet with them once a week. I mentor them. I take them through their school. And then with the full advocacy was about 5 years ago when a young girl was brutally raped in her anus and her spinal cord got broken. And that's how I really got into. And then a friend of mine called me to say, "You have to see this little girl. This little girl must get justice, and we need people to now understand that sexual penetration of a minor is a crime." And every day, on the news, we got news. We have this 50-year-old men penetrating 2 years, 50, 60-year-old men penetrating very young girls. And then I said, no, someone needs to hear and something needs to be done. So that's how I came into advocacy. We did the Black Tuesday on that fateful Tuesday, both locally and internationally, and it was recognized. And we,
Mm.
I mean, the advocacy for women, but especially girls, now touched my heart. So I've been doing that ever since.
Tell me more about the Black Tuesday movement.
There was a little girl, by then she was 4 or 5, was raped sexually penetrated by her uncle, and then she was in the hospital for receiving treatment because her spinal cord was broken. And then, like I said, a friend of mine, who was the president of lawyers, women lawyers, female lawyers in Sierra Leone, so I had to visit this young girl. She was in the hospital. She can't talk. All these tubes were, you know, hang over her. And then she was so, so, so pathetic. And then I said, no, I wrote about it on Facebook. And then I asked people to now say, look, we have to put a day aside to let people know. We use her case to let people know that sexual penetration, rape, it must be something that's unaccepted in society. So I asked people to wear black. I had a team, and then people, wore black on that Tuesday, and we advocated and we went. I mean, it was huge back here in Sierra Leone. And, now we have the First Lady with her and Sons of our Girls. Again, she came with full force of her own campaign. So the awareness of rape, the awareness of sexual penetration now, all these campaigns now led to policy change. We had the special courts for rape victims. We had policy now for rape victims. I partners. There's an organization called Purposeful, supported the AJ Foundation and the Black Tuesday movement. So the Black Tuesday movement was a day campaign, but because Purposeful came in out and believed the idea should now be escalated, they supported, and from just a single march, so there were now movement. It turned out to be a movement where we raise funds again for organizations working for rape. We supported them and we were able to raise funds to support. So it was a campaign that changed the narrative of rape and sexual penetration in Sierra Leone.
And so, when you think about the work that you've been doing, you've been globally recognized, right? The BBC recognized you as one of 100 most inspiring and influential women in the world, right? Following the Black Tuesday movement campaign, you're also recognized as one of the 50 most influential women in Sierra Leone,
Hmm.
right? And even the president awarded you the prestigious title of Officer of the Order
Oh
of the
yes,
Rokel, right?
yes.
Tell me about that and receiving such accolades. What has that meant for you?
It's huge for me, all the awards. When you do something and when you're passionate about something, you don't do it for recognition. You don't, I mean, because I have things I am really passionate about and I make sure I do it to the best of my ability. And um, sexual penetration is one of them. So, in November 2016 or so, 17, I had this email from the BBC, so I thought it was spam because I go to my emails and try to delete emails that comes in that are not related to me. And I saw that, oh, I should talk about myself and the Black Tuesday, and I did. And in the end, I had this email to say, oh, you have been nominated and you have been selected to be one of the most influential women by the BBC. So I was in a party. I felt, oh, this is huge for me. And the work I did, actually, that little girl is no more. She suffered until she died, but she was alive when I got the award. And I said I did it with all my heart. I had two boys then, but her situation was really pathetic, and she needed a voice, and I gave her the voice, and I made sure everyone knew about her story, even though she's never alive to actually say what happened to her, because when she speaks, they said she's a little girl. But then, little girls, when they talk, they actually say something truthful. So, and then I advocate a lot for girls, the 50 most influential. I have won that award for like four times now. Even this year, I was also recognized. And then, of course, by the president says, okay, because of all what I do, because the president's award, there's a whole committee that is set up to identify and look at people doing exceptionally well in their field of work. And also, I got a call and a letter to say you will be awarded this year of one of in the president's award as officer of the order of the Rokel. It's been wonderful to receive all these accolades. And also it's also a burden. That means you have to maintain, you have to do more, even though it's something that I'm proud of. It's something you cannot refuse, or well, you can refuse, but something that makes you feel you're doing more. But I always do things based on my conviction, what I believe in, and I do it to the best. If I get recognized in the end, like
Mm.
it's done, then that's huge for me. And all these awards, and even more of the awards, is something that I hold sacred. That's my grandkids, because my kids already know about them, who knows that their grandmother was once someone who was very, very influential. So I hold, I'm very dear to me. So today, like, as if I knew, as I was in the mood today, I said, okay, I need to just be fussy about my badge today, so I had to put on my badge.
Well, show this badge to the camera so that we can capture it.
So this
Th-
is it.
There you go.
This is officer of the order of the Rokel from the president.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations and thank you so much, Asma, for spending the last 45 minutes or so with me. What next for you?
I don't know what God has in stock for me, but just establish the radio. So, like I said, our broadcast is different. People are not used to it. So, I'm still grooming the radio to certain level where I would then say, okay, I'm satisfied, and then try to now move into whatever God wants me to do. But I'm still in the media space. That is why I own 80% of my staff are women in the media. So
Yeah,
I'm trying to maintain for now until otherwise.
brilliant. Thank you very much, Asma, for sharing your story with me. It's been a pleasure listening to you.
Thank you so much too. I'm so happy, and I follow you a lot, and I must say you inspire me a lot.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yes, thank you. All right.
Today's conversation with Asma James has been interesting as we got to learn about her triumphs and challenges while setting up and managing her own media organization after 2 decades of active service in broadcast industries. Now, Asma's story speaks to African women out there who wish to use their voices to advocate for and amplify the marginalized voice of women and girls facing all forms of violence. As she rightly said, when you're passionate about something, you don't do it for the recognition. You do it for the impact you're going to create through it. This, she says, motivated and informed her activism and advocacy for women's sexual rights. Drop me an email at yemc@africanwomeninmedia.com with your thoughts, and let me know if you'd like to join me on an episode of this podcast. To find out more about African women in media and our work, visit our main website at africanwomeninmedia.com, and in the show notes there's a list of organizations and resources to support you if you have experienced any of the topics we discussed today. And don't forget, join the conversation using the hashtag #HerMediaDiary.
Her Media Diary is a product of African Women in Media, an NGO advocating for gender equality in the media industry. And this episode was hosted by Dr. Yemisi Akimbobola, produced and edited by Blessing Udeobase as part of a 4-episode series on women in media leadership. All music featured in this podcast is by Nana Kwabena. Thanks for listening and join us again next time.